Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's call this meeting to order of the Oregon City Natural Resource Committee. We used to call it a commission, but I was told I couldn't do that. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay. Let's have a record of who's here. How do we do that?
Okay. Pete Walter, staff.
Bill Clark, member.
Trent Warnes, member.
Richard Craven, member. Doug Neely, member.
Jerry Herman, member.
Dorothy Dalsford, member?
Dorothy. Welcome, Dorothy and Trent. Is that right?
Yep.
I'm sorry I didn't understand why you were here.
That's all right.
I forgot we voted you guys in.
Yeah, and if you guys want to do a brief introduction,
Yeah.
that would be great.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Trent Warnes. I moved here with my wife about a year and a half ago from Gladstone. I've worked in the timber industry for the last 17 years now, I guess. Graduated from Washington State University with a degree in forest management, and just wanted to. Once we moved to Oregon City, I kind of got to like the community and saw that they were calling for some volunteers for some stuff. So thought, why not try to get into it and contribute back to the community. So
Right.
thanks.
All right. Good to have you here.
Thanks.
And
My name is Dorothy Dalsford, also known as Dee Dee, most often. Change it sometimes to Peaches when I need to be incognito. But I've lived in
wow.
Oregon City since 1975 and raised 3 children here, and most of my business in Portland. And I have recently semi-retired. And so time to squeak a wheel and hug a tree. That's how I'm here.
Wow. In that order?
Kind of.
Okay. good to have you a member of the group here.
What
do we do now? I don't have an
existing
agenda.
members give a brief introduction too. So
What do we do?
Get your best on your name.
make sure your
I can't.
mic's on and your red light's on.
When I like
And
my mic's on.
Why don't our existing members introduce yourselves briefly too, if you could?
Bill Clark.
Thanks for all that.
I'm a
Thank you.
semi-retired scientist, environmental scientist, and wood carver. And I
Okay.
enjoyed the work that I did in my career, and I'd like to try and add back to the community any natural resource knowledge that I might be able to impart.
All right.
Richard Craven, retired from the environmental consulting business after about 35 years, working on mostly water resource development projects in Oregon and elsewhere.
Doug Neely, I'm a statistician that works on fish survival analysis of the Yakama Nation. I got involved in Oregon City to begin with that because of what was doing in terms of development along the steep slopes of Oregon City when Friends of Oregon City was very, very active, and got involved in the city commission.
I'm Jerry Herman. I work with at-risk youth and train them in environmental landscape installation and those kinds of things. Also work with them on tourism guiding and hosting. Had a long-term interest in the city. Helped establish with Doug the first city cleanup a long time ago, 24 years ago, I do believe. All right.
And
Hear from you.
I'm Pete
All right.
Walter. Been planner of Oregon City for 10 years. And I got a background in natural resource management, and then I got into city planning around 2000. So I've been doing that since. And that's it. Kelly Reed is with us. She's an assistant planner of planning division. And her agenda item came in a little late, but if you guys are open to a presentation on the McLaughlin-Kanema Trail, we'd like to add that into the agenda tonight.
Did you bring some treats with you?
Oh, no, I forgot. Do you want some almonds? I have almonds.
Kelly's not feeling very well. She she had a Jamaica vacation, but now she's got a cold.
You know, gotta balance it out.
I guess we have no public comment tonight. I don't see any other public
Well,
except
we're
for
on
Kelly.
the
I just took
agenda
the front row
analysis
seat.
portion of the
Okay.
agenda, so
All right.
if there's anything else besides the presentation you guys see on the agenda that you want to change, you can do it now. It's up to
Anyone
the
have
committee.
any thoughts? Anything missing? Or you'd like added?
Can we just like add things?
With the consensus
We
of the
certainly
group.
can.
Yeah, it's good if, from my standpoint, it's good if you have something that you want to bring forward to do it in an email ahead of time. just
Yeah,
so-
ahead of
Okay.
time is preferable.
And that's
We
what I
also
did.
have opportunity further down at the end of all of our
Yeah.
meetings for communications. And we expect that, like, NRC members will bring forward any items that they want to report on at the end of the meeting as well. So, and that'll be a good time to do that. Okay,
Okay.
so,
Thanks for slipping me in to your agenda.
thank you.
I'm Kelly Reed. I've been with the planning department for a little over 3 years now. And I am preparing a grant application for a group of organizations, including Oregon City and the Natural Resources Committee by association. The grant is a Nature and Neighborhoods regional trails grant from Metro. So Metro has the Natural Areas Bond Program, and they allocate some of that money for community grant programs
Thank you, Don.
each year. And one of the newer grant programs is a regional trails grant. And we are submitting an application for a master plan for the McLaughlin to Kanema Trail. I have a map up on your screens. This is actually a section of the Oregon City Loop Trail, and that Oregon City Loop Trail is a regional trail. It's identified in the Regional Trails Plan, so it's highly significant, not just to Oregon City, but to the region. And this that trail is mostly undeveloped and does not exist yet. And so what we would be doing is building or planning one section of that trail in preparation for future trail construction. So this grant is it's a partnership right now between the city, which kind of includes Natural Resources Committee, Parks and Rec Committee, planning staff, and staff from Parks and Public Works would be contributing to the grant, to the work if we receive it. The Oregon City Trail Alliance is also engaged as a partner in the grant. The Kanema Neighborhood Association, as well as the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association, and the Clackamas County Historical Society is also has joined. So we have a group of five organizations are jointly applying for this grant, which is really fantastic. And Metro actually encourages partnerships and community engagement, so the more the merrier for them. So what the project is really, determining an alignment for this trail. Really, we have points A and points B, and we have to figure out how to get from A to B. Where is it going to go? Where can it go? What kind of trail will it be? Is it paved? Is it just a dirt path or mulch? And is it going to be ADA accessible? Is it going to be for bike and ped or just pedestrian? So all of these are important questions, and we would address those and answer those in the master plan process. The grant amount is $25,000, and we would use that to hire a consultant, folks who do trail planning, and that would be about a $25,000 contract, and then we'd match that with an equal amount of either cash, in-kind materials, in staff time, volunteer time. And so how we would get all of the volunteer time is, we want to have a really robust outreach to the neighborhoods and to the community for this project. So we would like to have a big indoor-outdoor charrette day where we would bring people together, all the partners, all the stakeholders, people from the neighborhood, people that would use the trail, and get them in a room, talk about the design, kind of draw things out on paper, figure out answer some of these questions, and then go outside, walk the trail. I don't know what order this would be in, but we would also include, some active kind of walking along the various alignments. Could we go along the street, or could we go back into the woods here? So we would be kind of outside exploring that as a community, and we'd like to incorporate some education into that, and some invasive plant removal. So the trail would go through Old Kenema Park, which I'm sure you know has a whole lot of ivy that's just covering the trees in there. So we would
Oh, yeah.
we would want to, include a lot of invasive removal, kind of just some volunteer community engagement as part of the outreach. So we'd be kind of killing 3 birds with 1 stone with kind of educational opportunities, physical improvements through the invasive plant removal, and then getting people's ideas on how they want this trail to serve them. So the map here, kind of the dotted red line is not set. Like I said, we don't know where the trail will go, but it would start right up at near the Museum of the Oregon Territory. There's going to be, as part of the Riverwalk project, we're designing a pedestrian bridge that would come up from the paper mill site, over the railroad, over 99, and would touch down at the promenade, at the end of the promenade. So that would be our starting point for this trail. Then we go by the Museum of the Oregon Territory, across 2nd, along 99 potentially, or through private property, somehow get to that PGE substation that is on 99. PGE is going to participate in the project. They've already
Excuse me, can you
committed.
point out where the station is? I can't.
Sure, yeah. Good point. So here's about where 2nd Street is.
Oh.
And then we've got some private properties, and then the PGE substation is right here. So it's a big kind of fenced compound. And then Old Kenema Park
Yeah.
is here. So there's your view from that area. Here's walking along 99E before you get to the substation. And then this is
Yeah,
a substation. You can kind of walk behind it. If you can see there, behind the fence there, and then you have the big slope up. There's actually an informal trail that people already use, that kind of illegally at this point. So this trail is actually a trail that people informally already take all the time. And so what we would be doing is kind of formalizing it, making it safer. There's also, it's kind of blurry, but on the other side of the substation, you can see where people walk. We call those desire lines. There's a desire for a trail there, clearly. And then you get into Old Kenema Park, and there's the invasive ivy on all the trees there. And then you're in the Kenema neighborhood, where we have no sidewalks or curbs, and so we have a lot of challenges there with how to get folks safely through. We're going to have to figure out a solution for shared streets going through the Kenema neighborhood. The nice part is that it's quiet, it's slow. There are, skinny streets, and so people already slow down. But we'll definitely need to engage the neighborhood. It's a National Historic District, so the Historic Review Board would weigh in. We're going to have a lot of folks kind of being part of this process.
So you're looking at widening the street or going through private
Don't
property?
think so.
Or
Yeah, I don't think we would widen the
both?
street. We would probably we would try and figure out a way to mark the street so that people would just use the street. There might be some places where we could expand and have an area for people to walk next to the street, but coming up with some sort of shared,
Yeah.
we're all using the same space here. It's more common in other countries, but
Is
not
that
so
an
much here.
ADA compliant trail, or? is that
Some of
kind
it might be. We
Yeah.
don't really know until we start the work. I mean, there are, once you get through Old Kenema Park, you're either going to take 3rd Street or 4th
Yeah.
Street. So you have to either kind of stay on 3rd Street and then go up the stairs, or go up the slope to 4th Street, and then you're up at the top,
Yeah,
and then you're at
yeah.
Old Kenema Park. So it's not going to be ideal for ADA either way. In addition to all that, we've got natural resource overlay and some streams and wetlands within the path. So here's Old Kenema Park again, and then 3rd right here, we've got wetlands and streams and a lot of overlay area. And then on 4th as well, you've got the creek that runs parallel to the stairs.
I know, I just wasn't sure where she was on the list.
So, you know, if we're going to be building a trail or even, you know, having people walk through, we can think about, you know, improvements that could be made to the wetlands, to the stream corridors here. And that's where, you know, some of the volunteer hours can come in, where, you know, we have expertise among this committee. And we probably have some other expertise in our community that we could use as our match for this grant. And then, of course, the volunteer time spent on kind of cleaning up and removing invasives is all contributing to that match.
Now, excuse me, is the purple, or pink, whatever color that, lavender, I guess, is that the natural resource overlay?
Yes.
Okay. And the creek is where?
It's the light blue line. So there's one that kind of comes like this.
I was trying to see if I could find the name of that.
And then there's one.
yeah.
Is that the
Right
stairway
here.
right there? That little
Yeah, the
thick gray line?
stairway's right
Oh, that's
here.
the stairway.
Okay, I can see it now.
Yeah. And then here's the Kanema Children's Park. So the
Yeah.
our trail would essentially just come right into the Kanema Bluff natural area and connect. So you'd have this very safe, you know, friendly pedestrian connection all the way from the Kanema Bluff trail system all the way to downtown and the rest of Oregon City. Right now, there is no safe route for anyone to walk or bike between those two places. There's just too many slopes and too many streets with no sidewalks. So this would really connect the Kanema neighborhood up to the rest of the city and allow the rest of the city to have an easy little walk over to Kanema Bluff natural area. So I think where the Natural Resource Committee would come in for this clearly would be with the indoor-outdoor design charrette event, where we would, you know, have walking tours and have invasive removal, and that's, you know, what we might lean on you guys for your expertise in those sorts of things, if you're willing. And
When do you anticipate that?
well,
Assuming
the
the grant
grant
gets,
the grant money wouldn't be available until later in the spring. And so we could potentially be working on some of this stuff during the summer and fall of this year.
So the grant money plus other would be used to hire a consultant, is that the way I understood it?
Well,
A trail consultant?
Yeah,
Is that-
so we would use the grant funding to hire the consultant, and then our match would be in the form of all the staff time that we're spending on it. 'Cause- So we would try to add value to what the consultant is doing. So that we're not paying them to do some of the work. Staff's going to do some of that work, and we'll count that toward the match. And then, of course, all the grant partners like the Trail Alliance and the Clackamas County Historical Society have, you know, volunteer capacity, and they have some expertise that they are contributing. The neighborhoods will participate, and that'll count towards match. And hopefully we'll have folks from the PRAC and folks from the NRC to provide volunteer hours or donated services as well. So it would really be a community kind of effort where everyone's kind of chipping in what they can. And then, you know, of course, at the end of the process, we'd have a nice master plan for this trail, and we would be identifying funding sources for construction next so that we can move straight into construction.
Does the trail route itself plan to be all upon public areas, or I guess how is that working? I
Not
guess?
necessarily. The PGE property, you know, we might, you know, depending on what their needs are and what they can do with that property, there could be an easement through there. There is some other private property on the other side that, you know, it's a lot more difficult, and it would be more expensive to acquire right-of-way or easements. So, you know, the alternative analysis that through the process, we would determine the feasibility of, you know, using private land or public right of way existing. And we'd weigh the pros and cons of all of that. And another piece of the project is, you know, we don't know how long it would take to get funding for construction. And so we want some solution right now. And so we would come up with an interim trail, with some easy signage so that, you know, the people who are kind of already taking that route now, we could make that route safer and sign it so that there's a more formal trail in place in the interim for people to use. So it might involve, putting some Jersey barriers up along 99 where there's no sidewalk, so that there's a little corridor channel where you can walk through. But that would be part of the work that we figure out an interim pathway and where we would sign it, and then we would have volunteers and people from the partners groups just go out and kind of install that.
What's the reception been by Metro so far?
Yeah, so we had to submit a pre-application first. It's kind of a first round of yes, we want you to apply for the grant, or no, this project's not really doesn't fit, or it's not competitive. And they asked us to come back, and they said that we had a strong application. They really liked all the partnerships that are being formed for the grant, and they think it's the loop trail, and this section of it is really crucial. The fact that we're connecting Kanema Bluff to the Riverwalk is huge, and so I think that we're a really competitive project.
So it has gone through the preliminary review
Yeah.
and then advanced to final submittal.
Yeah, so they have 13 finalists, and we're competing for $500,000 total, but the total requested amount is something like $800,000, so not everybody's going to get the grant. So we're still competing for it.
So your request is for how much again?
Only $25,000.
25, okay.
Yeah.
Just clarify.
Yeah, so just the planning, we're not doing any complicated engineering work and no construction work at this time.
One thing, actually the city and ODOT did not agree when they did the work on the South 2nd Street signal and intersection there in McLaughlin. They decided to keep Tumwater open for entering that particular area. So we wanted to see it closed, both the police department and Public Works and everybody, but ODOT had a different vision. I really think it'd be great if you close that up and have just a continuous walkway all the way down the McLaughlin corridor, right through the Museum of the Oregon Territory, and include that in the process, and that can be part of perhaps the public discussion when that happens. But I'm really pleased that I'd say the pedestrian overpass at McLaughlin you're considering is close to the Museum of the Oregon Territory. I think that's really beneficial. I would maybe bring in as a partner, just in support, to talk to the people that run the Veterans of Foreign War. Maybe you've already done that. I don't know, but I think they would be real keen on it.
Yeah, we're going to reach out to them.
Yeah.
I'm just getting the
'Cause
contact.
they want more visibility there.
Right. Thank you.
So you're asking for us to give you a letter of support, or
We
what?
don't. What I learned recently is that we don't necessarily need a letter from the city. I mean, we're the applicant. We don't
Okay.
have to write a letter of support for ourselves.
Yeah.
But if we, for example, I think the selection committee for the grant would look favorably upon maybe a letter that says the Natural Resource Committee, or even from an individual on the committee, saying we're excited about this, we support it, we plan to contribute X, Y, and Z in the form of our time and our volunteer or expertise in whatever field. I think those specific kind of commitments, showing those, I mean, I would put them in the application narrative, but having it in a letter would be nice too. It's totally not necessary, but if anyone's willing and able, it could help.
All right. What's the desire of the committee here?
I think it'd be good to put forward a letter.
Put forward a letter?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We could state, first of all, you came and presented it here on the 13th of January, and that we were favorable, is that true?
Yeah.
To the concept, advancing forward, and that we would enjoy being a partner when it comes time to the charrette and field design, charrette,
Yeah.
whatever.
And I
something
can
like
put
that.
together some paragraphs and some sentences that you can use to put that together. I
Okay.
can give you the talking points.
Okay.
I know one of those streams, I presume the one to the right is probably Coffee Creek? Or is that the one to
What
the
is it?
left? Or do you know?
Do you know, Pete? One of them's
The one
coffee.
that comes, yeah, I think the one on the right is coffee.
This one?
That would
And do you know if the one on the left has any name?
I don't remember. The one on the left is the one that has, well, they may both have some works progress administration, waterwork type historical embankments on them. And they are, what we show on the map is not necessarily where the feature actually is. This is our best available data from various surveys in the past. So, so we'll have to check on that and use that as information for the grant application. Yeah.
Just as a how is the little area of Kanema feel about it? Have you gone to their neighborhood association yet?
Yeah, we have,
question.
they are a partner, so of course, there's going to be some probably tough conversations about, how the trail comes through and, having a little bit more foot traffic in the area potentially. But of course it partially solves a parking problem for Kanema Bluff. So there's not a lot of parking for people to visit there, but if there's a nice, easy trail to get there, then, you don't have to have parking at the trail or at the park. So that will help that parking situation. But, of course, I think Kanema understands that if they're not part of the process, then, they might not get what they think is best. So they want to participate.
Well, there's a natural line between downtown and the metro parks. So how do we trample it nicely? How do we make a beautiful path for everyone?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do we refer to this project in a letter?
It's and I can send you all this, the McLaughlin to Kanema Trail Master Plan.
Go off on what?
McLaughlin to Kanema Trail.
Okay. All right.
That's our working name. Could change.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly.
Interesting project.
All right. Yeah, it's I think we're setting a precedent for all these different groups working together. So,
Right.
thank you very much.
Thank you for doing
Get well.
5 part page.
Better.
2, 3, 4.
it. Okay.
And the other one's what? So give it a flicking and it goes up.
Okay, do we have minutes to adopt here?
Yeah, we have the minutes of August 12th, 2015. Those are attached. For those of you who aren't familiar with our touch screens, there's a way to actually see these documents on your screen by clicking on the subject and then saying View Document. So I can open that up here as well.
Should I flick it again? My mouse is
And this is a fairly detailed meeting. I'm just opening it up right now.
Are we supposed to be able to open up the minutes?
I think we're frozen.
Yeah. I
Is
think-
your mouse working?
No,
No,
it's not
mine's not
working.
working.
My
Yeah,
mouse is-
our mice aren't working.
Mice aren't working? Oh, no.
I kicked it back to hit the little toggle button, and then it kicked me back to the.
Did you try that and then go back?
I tried it. Did you do that and it works?
Yeah, that's what I did, and it kicked me back to the main.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm like the main, but I can't navigate it with my mouse. Can you do? Are you able to navigate it with the mouse? Trent?
Yeah, no,
Mine's not moving.
Yeah, and then kicked it. Kicked it back to there, and then it.
Okay.
Oh, how'd you do that?
Uh-uh.
Tell me to do something.
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
There we are. Okay.
Wow, thanks, Trent.
I didn't do nothing.
Now do that to ours. Do we do it with just a flick, eh?
I was there once, but I can't get back.
Oh, documents, that's right.
And then
Yeah.
Huh.
What do I do now?
Whoa.
view.
Well, I'm not sure that's going to work. Well, let's see.
Something
Here.
Yeah, the desktop.
Oh, okay.
So you
Okay,
hit document, then you hit
minutes.
view. You click on it.
Oh,
I'll show
there's
you.
cursor.
You're like,
I think if you
this
hit
is
that
the
document,
document.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
attachment with the little paper clip
There we
Gotcha.
go.
and then hit
So
view. Yeah, there you go.
then you go click documents. Click. There's also a little
Okay.
blurb and then a staff report.
All right.
Shows up, and
This is,
sorry.
Scroll down and then I'll.
Scroll at the mouse.
I'm looking at the August
All
12th
right.
See if that
minutes.
Yep.
This is
August?
minutes. You hit documents.
Okay.
Is that the last minutes we have? Is for the 12th?
Yeah.
Okay, I see where we are.
Oh, thank you.
I was
The
gonna say,
August
I was
12th?
gonna
Is
say,
that what
we're
we're
in
looking at?
August.
These are August 12th. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, we do want you to review your packets ahead of time. But if you didn't have a chance, we'll give you some time to look this over. We had the Environmental Learning Center. I was not at this meeting. But you also had the Clackamas Cove project presentation
Yeah.
and Myers Road Extension Corridor Plan presentation. Status report on the work session, that was not discussed. A Heritage Tree nomination for Pleasant Avenue, which you approved.
Okay. All right.
Some communications, and that was it. Pretty heavy-duty meeting in terms of presentations. John Van Staveren with Pacific Habitat Resources actually presented on both those, both the Cove project and the,
Yep.
Can I make a motion to
DLC.
approve these minutes?
Yes. Would you?
Second.
Okay. Motion by these two guys over on the other side, and thank you very much. All right. Bill and seconded by
Richard.
Richard. Thank you.
great.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Good.
All right.
Thanks. We have we have no public comments. All right. On to new business. First item is election of the Natural Resources Committee officers for 2016. In my staff report, I just copied in the bylaws that apply to this. Let me look at that. We have a chair, a vice chair, and secretary. Nominations are taken from the floor at the first meeting of every year. Offices may be reelected. In the event that an officer is not able to complete a term, a special election is held for completion of the term. The chair and the vice chair are pretty standard positions. Chair is ex officio member on any subcommittees that we have. All of our subcommittees are ad hoc. And then our vice chair conducts the business of the chair in their absence. The secretary position is essentially honorary at this stage because we have transcribed minutes. It states here that you have to provide a written copy of the minutes, but you actually don't. That's part of an old bylaw. So we get transcribed minutes. We may be, just so you know, we may be speeding up the minutes potentially in the future using a different transcriptionist, hopefully, so we can get our minutes up and loaded more quickly than they have been. And staff will do the work of getting those minutes to you in your packets and those kinds of things. So that's essentially it. We would also expect that the officers, in particular the chair, be the spokesperson for the committee to other committees and to the Planning Commission and City Commission when those needs arise. For example, at the end of each calendar year, we like to shoot for an update on what the committee's activities have been to the City Commission. And then there's also participation at work sessions required at times when we need to have joint work sessions with either Parks and Rec Advisory Committee or the Planning Commission, that sort of thing. So, thanks.
Can you refresh us as to who this honorary secretary has been? Was that
I
Doug?
think it was
No.
Richard, but I could be wrong.
It was actually one time, that's right. It was.
So thanks for your service.
No problem.
Would you
Do I get
be
a
off?
plaque or something?
I think what we ought to do is put in, recommend people for nomination for positions. I'd like
Sure.
to nominate Richard for the chair position.
Second that.
I would, well, can we have some discussion here?
Yes, it's a nomination, it wasn't a vote.
Yeah, I think that, what is Ginger's,
I haven't spoken to her about the elections at all.
Well, the thing
and I
is, she
didn't know
has
that.
missed, in the
Quite a
time
few.
I've served her, she's missed a few meetings, and I think her schedule sometimes precludes her coming.
I would not be the best person. I will be missing some months here.
Oh, okay.
And so
You-
I would,
You will be
Okay.
what, did you say?
missing some meetings.
Okay,
Okay.
missing meeting.
About three.
And I withdraw my nomination.
Thank you. And I would like to nominate one of two people here. What's your position, Jerry? You've been
Well, you
vice
know,
chair.
I'll be honest with you. I'm having a lot of challenges with my eyes right now. Just stuff I'm doing, a lot of grant work and everything, and I have to stay reasonable. And I don't even. I would rather be the remember the historian position that we established here was just an honorary position to kind of relate to the history of this organization, how it came together. I'd rather do that. I'd rather not be the chair. I'd rather not be the vice chair. I just don't think I have the time right now.
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you.
Well, I guess
But
we
thank
have
you.
to fall back to somebody else that might be sitting between us here.
There you go.
I would like to recommend or nominate Doug Neely as
I was
chairman.
hoping.
I would second
That's
that.
why I nominated you. No, that's okay.
Is there a second or?
I would second that too. But
Call for a vote.
well, are we going to do the? Do we have any other
Nominations,
candidates?
other
We should
yeah,
ask that
candidates?
question.
For chairman?
For
No,
chairman?
I don't think.
Bill, are you interested? Or
No, I'm not. I don't have the experience yet, I don't believe.
and Trent, we forgot to tell you the first meeting of the year is a chance to appoint you immediately to this position.
Yeah,
we're not going to do
Get
it.
on the chair first.
Get a little
we won't do
feel
it.
for the
He
before
can
getting
look,
a
we
chair.
start with
Yeah.
vice.
All right, but we'll. All right. Well, okay.
Well, let me ask, we're still in the discussion part, is that right? Just clarify, you mentioned Ginger is not interested, is that right?
No, I didn't say that. I just
don't know.
made the observation that over the last year, she has not been able to make all the meetings.
Okay, all right.
And you, apparently you can't either.
I cannot make several meetings, yeah.
Well, do you have any other nominations for chair? If not, we'll close the nomination for chair. I think that's correct. And let's go ahead and have a vote here. All those in favor of Doug Neely for chair signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. All right. Now, we have a vice chair problem, one in charge of vice. Is that right? Who would like to be the assistant in this operation?
You are currently vice chair, I take
I'm
it.
currently vice chair and I don't want to continue.
Does somebody want to do it?
Nominate Dee Dee.
What's involved in vice chair? You know, I mean, I'm the least experienced on this
You
panel.
have to
I'm
run the meeting.
openly.
Have to run the meeting like I am tonight when Ginger didn't show up. And then, in theory, we're supposed to be consulting with Pete, our staff liaison, on agenda items. Which I'll tell you, the flood of stuff you send me, it's amazing. I don't have time to even read through the stuff.
I mean,
But it's wonderful. Wonderful.
I do a sort of an email, and I say, these are the agenda items I think we're
Yeah.
talking about. Send me suggestions for anything else.
Yeah.
And then we formalize that with a published agenda. So there's that. Generally, I do that with Ginger as chair, and if that's what I would do with the chair, and then that would be delegated to the vice chair in their
The
absence.
vice chair kind of watches everything, and if they don't show up, then you
Yeah.
kind of handle things and say, okay, we'll wing it.
Mhm. Preside over meetings.
I would do this
yeah.
as long as everyone has the understanding that I'm the worst typist and speller in the world. You'll wonder what I'm saying. Perfect. Okay.
No, you don't do any writing.
Good.
That's the secretary, and she doesn't do it either.
Then you never want me to be that. But yeah, I have no problem. I mean,
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we have a nomination for Dee Dee, Dorothy, to be vice chair And I guess I thought I heard that seconded by somebody. I don't know. Any more discussion about that? Any other nominees for vice chair?
I should also, I do travel a lot, and I'm trying not to miss more than 3 meetings a year. I put you on my calendar, can't guarantee it. Just letting you know.
Well, if you miss 3 in a row, we will remove you.
I know.
Okay.
Is there anybody else that's interested in?
Trent?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to do it if you want.
Okay.
I plan to try to beat everything, so if
Okay.
I can. So.
All right, so Trent would be willing, is a second on Trent's nomination for vice chair? I didn't hear Trent. I didn't hear a second.
I would second, yeah.
Okay, seconded by Richard. All right, so now we have 2 candidates here. I almost feel like we ought to do this
All right, Trent, let's step out in the hallway.
on a little sheet of paper here. I don't know. What do you feel?
At the committee's pleasure, you can.
I'd like to. I would rather see one be vice chair and one be secretary.
All right.
We know I
And
can't be
rather-
secretary.
But secretary is an honorary position.
Oh.
Well, it's an actual position, but
Actual.
there's
I'm
not a
sorry.
great deal of responsibility involved with it.
In fact, I can't think of any responsibility.
We could make some responsibilities.
We can discuss one after we have this election.
Right, I like that idea.
Well, if you don't have any responsibilities that makes you look good, I can be an honorary.
Well, you're going to be here.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's chances I might be gone, but it's pretty random. I won't be missed too many meetings, if any at all. So,
Okay.
but I don't have a preference either way. I don't want to say your name.
I mean, I think either the chair or the vice chair should be prepared to be visible at public meetings, not just this one, but other ones, since we really want to foster intercommunication with other groups. So I think we need to reach out and do more of that, even if it means, showing up and doing a 3-minute spiel at the beginning of a meeting, just as an update for whatever group we're interested in interacting with. And that's the public face of the NRC, and it makes people aware that we're a group that's active. So. Yeah.
Okay, so our dilemma is we have 2 candidates for vice chair. Is one of the candidates willing to be secretary?
I can do either.
What?
I can do either. I'm
You can
easy
do
peasy
either?
either way.
It's fine.
I move that Trent be the vice chair and that Dorothy be the secretary.
Okay, it's been moved that Trent be the vice chair and Dorothy be the secretary, and that was moved by Chair Doug Healy. Any second?
Oh,
Second.
I did get voted in.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of that idea?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, wonderful.
Thanks.
I guess that means I can take over the meeting.
That means you can take over the meeting.
Okay. I was going to propose that the letter of support be written by the secretary for
We already know they can't do that. You want it 4 pages long and rambling on with chain of thought.
Yeah, I think when we suggest we do a letter of support, we should say who's going to do it. I guess I'll go ahead and draft it.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Doug. I'll be happy to work with you.
Yeah,
on
no,
that.
and I'd submit it before it went out anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to excuse myself, not because I'm not happy with the election. I'm very happy, but I have to get back to this grant stuff that I'm late on. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you all. And
Call
I'll
me.
give you a call.
All right.
All right. I want to get Trent's number here, so I know how to bug him.
Yeah, no problem. It's
Can you just write it on here?
yeah, sure.
Where it says Trent.
We've got,
Okay.
we've got before us here,
Thank you, Trent.
Yep.
Good to meet you.
You too.
the work plan. And I presume they're consistent with city commission goals.
Yeah. Let me pull this up on the projector so that you can see what we're going to look at and revise.
See you later.
Excuse me just a second. Say, Jerry, you realize there's a discussion on the Environmental Learning Center tonight?
You guys can handle it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Thanks, Jerry. Good luck. And work plan. So, yeah, this is the one. So I can go through.
Now, this is the same thing we can pull up on our screen, right?
Yeah, but you can't edit it, but you can tell me to edit it and I'll
Right.
make the changes. Yeah.
Which one are you looking at, Pete?
I'm starting at page 1.
Well, I mean, which item? 5B?
Yeah. It's, yeah.
Okay.
If you click on documents, you have
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The agenda item. Yeah.
Yeah, which
If
agenda?
you hit that document.
Right, are you on the draft?
yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Work plan draft discussions, correct?
Yeah, Pete, that one.
Gotcha.
No, that's
The one before that. Go back. Yeah. Catch yeah.
Document. And then
second one.
click on that. And then say view.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. So essentially what I did is I looked through the document. I took off. Well, actually, I didn't make all the edits that I need to, but we can suggest any changes to our work plan at any time at any one of our meetings. And I suggest that we do keep it current and make it a working document, because that's what it's intended to be. It's supposed to guide our annual activity, whether it is participating in events or advocating for policies. And the idea that when we last approved this, we looked also at how it aligns with the city commission goals and responsibilities, and did our best to try to align those with what those are. So on the left column, you've got the city commission goals, and on the activity column to the right of that, we've got the activity that we want to use to implement that. And first one is promoting community involvement in natural resources conservation, which aligns with the City Commission goal of citizen participation. The activities that we have are conducting the natural resources tour. This was Jerry Herman's lead. Second one is preparing educational materials about street trees. This is a staff project. It's ongoing. Third item, 1C, is collaborating with the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council and Public Works to create an urban stream quality brochure. Doug DeHart was working on that. He's no longer a member. So 1D is participating in natural resources focused events associated with Arbor Day. This year we're adding in a combined event with Earth Day and Parks Department, Greater Oregon City Watershed Council, and potentially also Friends of Trees in late April at Clackamas Cove and Hillendale Park. And we need volunteers. And we need to also try to get neighbors excited to come out on Arbor Day and participate. So that's where I see an advocacy role for the Natural Resources Committee. The reason that we're choosing these two areas, Clackamas Cove has long been associated with the Earth Day project every year. Hillendale Park has water quality problems with temperature and invasives and nutria and other things. So it's one of the streams that flows through a park that's identified as needing shade in order to meet various goals of the city, including our national pollutant discharge permit, but that's the regulatory side. It's also a highly used park in the middle of a pretty area, which has a beautiful trail, and it's very publicly viewable and publicly accessible. So it's a good place to concentrate our efforts for Arbor Day. And Parks Department has some resources and some money to get plant materials and plant them at that event. But-
I'm just going to pose a question.
Go for
I
it.
don't know that Greater Oregon City Watershed Council specifically been approached on those sites.
Right.
We have, we've tended to focus on another park site, but we sure bring that up to the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council. But I would prefer, rather than having specific examples, especially where maybe the Friends of the Trees have been contacted, but the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council hasn't done that. Events associated with Arbor Day
Keep it open.
at city-owned,
Yeah.
city or urban renewal-owned parks.
Okay.
And I think the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council could perhaps do that, but we haven't had a discussion about it. But I think in any case, we'd be planning to do it at a public place.
Lands. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. We can keep it flexible.
One of those.
Welcome, Ginger.
So, anyway, and that's the only comment I'd have on what we're seeing there.
Okay. I've made that. I can make that change. I did make that. Next item down, develop partnership with schools for natural resources education activities, create spring break and summer tours. That was,
Let me come up, if I might. We're on that page. Since Doug is no longer involved in the collaborate with Oregon City Watershed Council of Public Works to create an urban stream quality brochure. Now, Richard, had we gotten anything from Doug at the?
I have not seen anything at all, so I'm not sure what he's doing on that. Who is he coordinating with? Or do you know who?
haven't seen anything in a few months on this one, so we should probably reevaluate this.
Yeah, we might want to, without him on the committee, we might want to.
You can feel free to strike any of these.
I would, without him on the committee and having no draft work product that's either come to this group, nor I don't think to the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council, I think we might want to pull it.
Okay. All right.
What was he supposed to provide?
I think the goal was to provide a draft that you all could review, and then we would use that draft and make it a city document, essentially. And the idea was to educate private property owners about their nearby water resources and habitat-friendly design and that sort of thing. Similar materials of this type already exist on the Nature in the Neighborhoods website at Metro, and Soil and Water District has similar type things going on. So it may not be the greatest thing for the committee to focus on when there are other groups that already do this. However, we got plenty of other things.
Who was the lead on it, I guess, the brochure?
Doug was.
Doug Dart.
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Aren't we trying to become a city of streams? We're a city of trees, but didn't they mention that we're trying to become a city of streams also?
Be a great idea.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have a lot of streams in our city, and it's been talked about a lot. That we need to talk it up more. And
Why don't we think about? I had something to add too, but why don't we find out what the major category? Go through the major categories and then come back to them
Okay.
and see where a suggestion like that may fit.
Okay.
all right. so the major categories, moving on. Next one, responsibility number 2, initiate recommendations to comprehensive plans, codes, and policies. This is aligned with the citizen participation goal and the enhancing livability goal of the City Commission. This is an ongoing activity. As I think what we discussed was as policies and codes and things are amended that affect natural resources, we would be bringing those to you as staff because that's part of the bylaws, and the requirement for coordination and commenting on developments and policies that affect natural resources is part of your bylaws already. So in terms of the timing on this, it's really an ongoing activity rather than a specific time. So we maybe want to change that. And moving on. Let's see. Item 3, activity 3A, receiving notice and comments on land use applications and projects within the city limit and the urban growth boundary. So that's ongoing. Responsibility number 4, conducting orderly meetings that result in communications aligned with citizen participation goal. 4A, activity, review NRC meeting agendas with staff prior to meetings with timeframes. So this is the responsibility of the chair and or vice chair. Right, chair. And that's a monthly thing. 4B, provide updates and annual reports about NRC accomplishments and recommendations to the City Commission. This is a chair responsibility.
Yeah. And why don't we label them as chair as opposed to putting
Sure.
names on them?
Yeah. This is something that we talked about needing to happen in December in anticipation of budget making priorities for the City Commission at their retreat every year, so that if the City Commission agrees with a recommendation that the NRC makes, they can potentially fund it in that calendar year.
Which category are we under now?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at 4B.
Okay.
Is the timing on this good, December? Or
Is December
should we
too
do it
late,
in
or should we back?
November?
Yeah, obviously.
I would-
we should
I would-
back it up.
Yeah, I think we need to, because for one thing, PrAC usually doesn't meet in December because, or sometimes November because of Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't know how it works on this year, but I would suggest that we should start for probably,
August.
I would say September, August, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, there are things that we probably have to do after that, but to get together and identify what those are. One of the things that we mentioned, and one of the things that we would deal with was, and this, Dorothy, this is kind of related to what you were saying, is that I suggested that for the next budget cycle, which would be the beginning of next year, that we look for funds to start signage on our main arterials, maybe even our arterials, maybe even our collectors, of places where streams are going under them. A lot of people don't know they're even there,
Yeah,
and that probably
I think huge
goes to
sign
your,
thing through all of
your
our,
interest.
yeah.
And at the Parks and Recreation, there's also a recommendation to identify trails, identify on the streets, on the main streets, trails that connect one street to another that go through the parks, and there are several of them.
Yeah.
And people don't know they're there. I mean,
Yeah, I kind of thought, on all these wonderful trails that we're hopefully developing and wandering through, you can have signs with just trivia on them. Did you know that there's such and such many groves in Oregon City of white oak? Did you know that this park lost 8 trees and we planted 5,900 of them over here? Or like on the I can get, is it Myers and High School Road? That this the new one that's cutting through the little oak?
Will, yeah, will be, yeah.
Right. If it's cutting through there and you're going through there and you're going to lose 12 white oak trees, there's going to be people standing with backup traffic. We know that's going to be an ugly thing. Everything's ugly over there. You could have a little information sign that says we had to harvest 12 trees, sadly had to harvest 12 trees from this site, and since then we planted, and give the location that it was planted, or we increased this meadow outside of it, you know, just to inform people what they did instead of just remove them.
Yeah.
We see too many empty blank holes, and if we can say this blank hole is for this reason.
Yeah. Because we mitigate for those, but people don't know where, and that's true.
Yeah, and go ahead. That's just
No,
one.
that's good.
This
That's
is
a
one
great
thing.
idea.
Public. Okay, what I'm doing is writing this in where 1C was as an activity. So I'm writing develop signage for public for improved public awareness. Excuse me. Improved.
I think right at the moment that could be kind of a general thing, and we can flesh out the specifics of it at a later point.
Natural resources. Okay. EG. How's that look? If you can see what I'm writing. Try to keep it pretty open and flexible for the time being.
That looks good.
And this is something that Public Works potentially needs to be involved in. With respect to signage, you know, we have just passed a new sign code, and government-owned signs are there's a lot of regulations about signage, and we have to be content neutral. We can't actually regulate based on what a sign says. We can only regulate location, size, and number, and occasionally materials. But that's because Oregon's a content neutral state. It's a freedom of speech issue. So we have to bear that in mind as we move forward with developing any kind of signage. Yeah. But public education is usually something that gets a thumbs up.
On the signage, people that are sponsoring everything, can they drop their logos on it? You know how they have?
You can't make that determination because you're making a judgment about content.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We
Okay.
have, there's some
Yeah.
signs that will be going up on sites that the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council has worked on jointly with the city on city property. The signage of the.
I mean, the
going up.
extreme example
Yeah.
that came up during this discussion once was you could put a sign up that says, the city is horrible, and they do terrible things. And
Yeah, I've got that.
they're like, you couldn't regulate it. So, yeah.
This one.
Yeah, don't let me-
That's the one I want to look at, though.
We're wonderful, and we do great things. All right. Hey, sorry. Right up, say, we're on 4B. Okay, and now we're on 5A. Responsibility number 5, coordinate activities with PrAC and Planning Commission
Just wanted
Yeah,
to see
so it's
where their connections were.
on an annual basis. This is aligned with Goal 4, citizen participation, involving 5A, scheduling a joint meeting with PrAC to develop a working relationship for Dee Dee and Trent. PrAC, we have a bylaw that says that we have to do this. PrAC does not have a bylaw that says that we have to do this, so there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but luckily Doug Neely is also on the PrAC. So for the time being, that is great, but we hope to foster a better and more formalized meeting every year with PrAC. And that's something, and so Parks and Rec Advisory Committee is under Scott Archer's department, which is the Community Services Department, which is, they run the Pioneer Community Center and all the parks,
Yeah,
as well as the buildings that the city owns.
prior to the the current budget cycle, which is last year and this year, PrAC actually came to the city commission with its with goals that it wanted to be put into the into the budget planning thing, and so that we could really focus maybe our joint meeting on things that we could both jointly support in terms of budget items to come forward. So you could put that responsibility 5A on the chair then.
Okay. 5B, schedule joint meeting with the Planning Commission to develop a working relationship. And this is something that, as staff to the Planning Commission, this is a staff responsibility. Any further input on this one, we need probably to do this whenever we have legislative files that are policy documents, and also when there are large applications coming for the Planning Commission, potentially, such as the Cove as an example, where there may be a need to have a work session before the Planning Commission actually makes a decision approving a major land use action. So those are the kinds of things where this responsibility matters. This activity really matters. So I guess I answered my question. I would make that schedule joint meetings when necessary, or another example on this is the Heritage Tree Code ordinance and the street tree list that the Natural Resources Committee updated the last few years. Those were adopted by the City Commission ultimately, but they go through the Planning Commission as well, since they affect property.
Yep.
Finally, 5C. Create a draft list of Natural Resources Committee priorities to share with the Planning Commission and City Commission. Let's talk about this one.
How does that differ from 4B, except the Planning Commission is included in 5C?
Yeah. What's the objective? I think part of this, the reason for this one came out of our desire to have a improved working relationship with PrAC, Planning Commission, and City Commission. And it's something that was kind of, we worked through the last 2 years trying to get to this point. So it's not something we want to let go of lightly. It's something we want to keep rolling. So we might want to amend this goal to reflect our current relationship, but also keep it as an ongoing item.
And I guess if we keep that as an ongoing item, we need to change Planning Committee to Planning Commission. Isn't it a formal
Right.
commission?
How about instead of creating a draft list, we maintain a list. Maintain a list.
Yeah.
A set or list of Natural Resource Committee. Anybody have any other thoughts on that? And this would be, let's see, who's the lead on this? It was you, Richard, or it is you. But I would be more than happy to collaborate on this one, because I'm kind of like the one that sends stuff to the city manager when it comes up as an issue. Staff and chair. It's kind of related to the, sorry, item 5A. Well, no. 4B. It's related to item 4B. As we do it in a, potentially that's what we do in advance of the city commission retreat.
Ginger, you pulled up, what did you pull up here?
Well, I just flipped to his screen.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah. You can do it side by side now.
Okay, where
How did you do that?
By flipping the switch.
Oh, which way?
Oh, yeah, of course.
There.
Okay.
Thank you.
You could
Yeah,
combine.
you flip your switch over to, and you can see it'll go dark and then it'll come back.
Oh, okay.
Aren't you glad I told you that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ginger didn't have anything to do with it.
I think 5C should be part of 4B. Maybe we
Yeah, I
just
was
need
thinking
to put
the same
two of them
thing.
together. I think that we should, I think that the intent of the original one was that the committees would jointly come up with that list. So maybe we have to review a list, or maybe we haven't developed a joint list yet.
I would suggest maintain and update a list.
There we go. Or update a list, yeah.
And our first one will be the
We have many lists.
And is it our, is it
This
just?
being one of them, but I think there's some lists that deal with policies that the NRC or individual members of the NRC would like to see changed or implemented. So it really needs consensus of the group
Yeah.
in order to move it forward.
But I'm wondering within the context of the goal, which is the coordination between the two groups,
Right.
that the sub-goals need to reflect that same coordination. So A and B both mention joint, but this one is a list solely for us.
Well, it's to share with Planning Commission and City Commission.
Yeah, but isn't it a joint list? If it's not, if it's our list, it should be up in 4. If it's a joint list, it should stay in 5. If it's a list that we develop with PrAC,
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
it should be in
Yeah.
5. But if it's just going to be our list that we develop and work with, then it should move up to 4. What is the group?
Yeah, good point.
I think it should go up into 4. I agree with you. It's something we're going to share anyway with Planning and City Commission, but it's one that we're going to probably come up with.
All right, let me see how that looks.
Yeah, because I mean that kind of list is what you'd be probably discussing with your joint get together with
Right.
the PrAC and all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
too.
Right.
Is that right? Am I doing that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Should it be 4C or just part of 4B? Anything else?
Number 4B, I think.
Okay.
We may have to craft it a little bit.
Oh, man, schedule joint meeting with PrAC.
I think it probably could have its own header, but I would almost think it'd probably better to have that as 4B and 4B as 4C.
Oh, good idea.
Because,
Yeah.
because when we develop this list, it's something we would provide information to the others for, so,
Yeah,
so,
Look, it worked.
So far, so good.
let's make sure, push cut and not delete. That's the problem I usually have.
Paste. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
Timeline. Same timeline as the one as
Mhm.
4C.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it might be ongoing.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, I'm going, yeah.
Okay.
Go
Good
down
job.
to the 4C and take out the B.
Yeah, that's coming out. I've got
He's got that on as a
Tracking
delete.
on.
Track
Oh, I
change.
can't see it. Okay, now I see it. Got closer. Yeah,
I'm glad you can see it. I can't see it.
yeah, well, you get closer.
Right.
One I was curious, but I think we skipped up at the top
Okay.
was that 1E or whatever it was.
Oh, I skipped that. Okay. 1E.
Yeah.
Develop a partnership with schools for natural resource education activities. This is a pretty big activity.
Yeah.
It's huge.
We could just,
There'd be an
Okay.
entire committee.
yeah. I think we're doing it when we do like the Arbor Day activities and the tree
Mhm.
plantings and things. I
And the
think we're already doing
signage and the educational materials.
it. Yeah. So maybe we don't.
Kind of
notice
a way
it.
to sneak in to the schools, I think, would be through our Heritage Tree Program.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And since they kind of got bad press, it'd be a good time for them to get good press again.
Sure would.
Because they just really whacked up some stuff without a permit. And I've tried to talk to the schools about their Heritage Tree Program because they are a wealth of trees
Yeah.
on school properties. And in Portland, it's being looked at as urban logging, and in some areas. And so I think we have to, if we embrace our schools to embrace their trees through some of the group activities. I've talked to schools about doing their Heritage Tree Program, and they about chased me out the building because of the responsibilities they think they would have to take care of the trees. They have to anyway. But I think, especially since Eastham planted their little grove, because that was the first, that was where I got kicked out of. Then a year and 2 years later, they came and planted that whole loop.
Yeah.
And I think now that we could contact that person, that group, would be an insight to sneak into the schools to say, let's put our bragging rights on our trees in our playgrounds. But
And those were the trees. I think the funding for that was mitigation that comes into the city for trees that have been taken out for developments. And the city
Oh.
receives money, and it has distributed those funds to purchase the trees that the schools. are
then it's
putting
even
in.
more likely
Yeah.
for them to embrace those trees
Right.
and make them heritage, almost guilt them into it.
Right. I
Oh,
think,
let's
I think
try
we've
that.
got- I think we've got rules on what constitutes a heritage tree. I don't think a new planted tree would qualify.
No, but they have two
Right.
giant trees right there, two
Right.
white oaks, and
Yeah.
they chased me right out. They wouldn't. I asked to speak to the board on the schools,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't even have it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
but Well,
yeah. Let's.
We can have an in on that.
Yeah.
I think that's the only sneaky way we're going to get into the schools.
All right?
It is a sneaky way.
I'm going to suggest we start at the top and then think of the specific activities. You brought out some. I don't know if we need to list those activities per se here, but
No.
like I said, I'm kind of so let's go to the top and look at it another time here.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing the tour anymore, though. It's just going back at the top here, 1A.
Yeah.
I think that gets struck. Anybody have any objection to that?
He's not doing the tour, or
Well, it's definitely more of a private thing. It's not something that the city is involved with.
what's wrong with leaving it on there?
Well,
Is it our, the question is it our event?
it's not really the NRC's event unless you all are involved in
Willing to do it,
endorsing it,
yeah.
and there's potentially public money, and there's no commingling of any kind of funds of any kind.
Okay.
Is it on a
One
private piece of
suggestion.
ground or something, or who's?
No, it's, well, there's been various things done, bus tours, boats, et cetera.
I got you.
Walking,
Number one.
and sorts of things. It's not something I would strike, without talking about it. It's just something that we could do if we have the resources.
Yep,
I'm not
but
sure.
it necessarily hasn't
Yeah.
been.
Okay.
Yeah. I
So
got you.
maybe we need, this is our vehicle to connect to the city goals for the legacy project,
Mhm.
enhancing the tourism. And then there was another one, the water, what else?
Ginger's talking about, in terms of the city goals,
This one.
where do the goals tie in? And she's got the city goals here, right?
Mhm.
Most recent city goals, you mean?
Yeah.
or-
And I'm
No.
reluctant to cut anything that will help us directly connect our activities to what the city's goals are. And there are, activity number 1A would connect with the waterfront master plan, goal 3, and it would also connect with goal 1, the Willamette Falls Legacy Project.
All right.
So you're saying keep 1A?
So we want to keep 1A, so that's a way for us to connect to the
Yeah.
city's
M-
goals.
I have kind of an ignorant question. Have our city commission goals changed since we first adopted this? Is that-
Yes,
Oh,
because
okay.
these are the 15-17 goals that they
All right.
adopted. And we wrote that prior to this.
Oh, okay.
Now, are our goals 1, 2, and 3 supposed to be following the city's goals, 1, 2, and 3?
We're trying to see where we have connection to the city goals.
I was trying to see how we were trying to melt them, and I didn't.
Yeah, they cross rough, like,
Okay.
like
Right.
bridge.
Yeah, I didn't really look at that, Ginger,
There's,
so.
there's not a one-to-one, but
Yeah.
if there's places where they connect, then
Mhm.
we're moving together.
Okay.
Which is one of our goals.
So I should just write in what those new goals are.
Connect natural resources tours relative
Yeah,
to.
she's talking about 1A specifically, I think, aren't you?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
relative
she's talking
to-
about 1A specifically, so you're typing into the, oh, I see what you're doing.
I'm typing in,
Yeah,
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 connect
on the
to
right, left
Yeah.
side.
the Willamette Falls Legacy Project.
Did you read that out? Sorry.
Yeah,
Mm.
connect to natural resources tour to enhancing knowledge about the Willamette Falls Legacy Project. So we could be we can help them be a selling point for their activities.
Oh, yeah, but what does it state in the city commission goal? It's goal-
Continue to advance the Willamette Falls Legacy Project by seeking funding and design for the Riverwalk.
Falls. Okay, I'll type that in the way it is in the
but
manual.
what I'm going to say, we go through these again, and then we'll take a look at a final version of this at the next meeting.
Let's do that. Yeah, I'll bring back a better draft.
Yeah,
And then goal 3 is the Waterfront Master Plan.
Okay.
I revisit the north end section of the Waterfront Master Plan.
Okay.
okay, coming back, I'm going to come back to our revised 1C there and see if there's a word or two we can drop in there to deal with Dorothy's suggestion about signage for improved public awareness and of natural resources. I think that could fit right in that. Do you think the wording is sufficient to deal with that? Develop signage to improve public awareness of natural resources. They can also, and
if we're only going to stick with the natural resources with streams and trees, but you know, it seems to me that every time we go across something, there'll be a bit of a. There are also funny little heritage sites that we have that
Yeah.
are sites for dastardly things or wonderful things, but those kind of are interesting trivia histories that people find fascinating, good or bad. But since we're mainly streams and trees,
Yeah, we have,
Well, no, we can add that stuff in.
Yep.
I'm writing in development sites, heritage sites, because I see your point.
Yeah.
and
It's really,
because I mean, like ELC could really they could really do a tote of the early days of Smuckers, and what good benefit they did, but then also the dastardly things that happened, and then the reestablishment of headwaters. I think they should put a fountain up there, by the way, but that's not my money to say that. But how many people can drink from the headwaters?
There's no
it'd have to
flow.
be treated for it to be a public, it'd have it as a public drinking.
We can say potable
No, you can't.
or a non or whatever. I don't know. Can't remember what potable means. Can't or not can't.
Yeah, unless you can prove it's potable. And,
so
Yeah,
I'll bring back a draft that's reflective of the current set of city commission goals and priorities, and we can play with that some more. But I think in terms of the activities, it looks like we're pretty good. Unless you have any additions, any further additions.
No.
We've got some other items on the agenda we probably want to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that.
All right. So this is still a draft. Should we move on?
Yeah. We're going to do the agenda. Okay. Okay, here we're going to get the overview and discussion of the Clackamas Community College Environmental Learning Center project.
One second. All right, so here's where we're at on the project. I have full-size large plan sets that are very recent. The plans that we just got have not yet been reviewed by our environmental consultant yet for completeness, David Evans and Associates. They're our on-call wetland consultant. I think the deadline is the 22nd on that.
The deadline for what?
Completeness review. Since
Okay.
it's a land use action, we have 30 days as a city to make a statement
So
as
that's the
to,
deadline for you.
for staff.
And they would
Right.
have then they would have time to respond.
Yeah, they have, well, from the day they turn in their application, they have 180 days to make their application complete. But
Mhm.
the city has 30 days and to tell them if anything's missing. If we send them a letter says you need X, Y, and Z, then it's up to them how quickly they respond. Every time they send something in, we get another 30 days. So if they don't get deemed complete the first time around, there's a second round, potentially a third round. They have good environmental consultants. I don't anticipate that's going to happen. There may be some requests for clarifications, and that's kind of... Once that's deemed complete is when we start the public notice period, which for this type of application, it's a type 2 limited land use decision. It only has a 14-day public notice period. Since it's not going before the planning commission, it's basically anticipated, this project was anticipated when they did the first master plan for the community college in 2007. So subsequent phases of their master plan are submitted as type 2 applications through staff. So the committee, we have several ways that we can get your feedback on this. We can get your feedback individually as citizens, but if you're going to provide feedback as a board at a public meeting, we have to provide public notice of that meeting, since when 2 or more of you are in a meeting together deliberating about something like this, state law says that you're public officials and you need to let everybody else know that there's a deliberation going on. So we can potentially schedule a separate special meeting to do this if that's needed, or ideally the public comment period coincides with an NRC meeting, regular meeting. So I'm flexible.
I would actually,
Yeah. But we might not have control over that third option.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
So if
that-
we don't, yeah.
I mean, Clackamas Community College is very much interested in public participation and presenting this to the public. Perhaps we could have the college, somebody from the college actually come and make a presentation to us.
Now that it's submitted.
Now it's submitted.
Yeah.
I've been involved to some degree. I've been invited to sessions with them, and they're going to be interviewing me later this month. And so this is still an ongoing process in some ways, and it includes not only the natural features, but it also includes the renovation of the building site itself, I believe,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
having expanded uses made of that actual center site.
Yeah.
I understand, and I don't see it on one of these things, but they're actually hoping to have a covered area there where they could have outdoor classes. I don't know if that little amphitheater there is what they were talking about.
I think that might have gone by the
Gone away.
wayside.
Yeah.
It is?
I think it might have. I
okay.
recall that at
Yeah.
one of the presentations.
You have the copy of the final plans there?
I do. I haven't looked at them yet. That's where
So
I'm.
I'm not seeing a picture. I'm not seeing a picture of that, and it may have well been. They may have had to mitigate on that. Maybe they didn't have space to mitigate,
Yeah.
or
No, I
maybe
did
it
have
was
a
just going to be
conversation
too
with them
expensive.
about that. And they asked how that would be classified, whether it be considered ground disturbance or not. And we said, well, a lot depends on the design. If it has, impervious surfaces, that's one thing. If it has surfaces that are designed to infiltrate water in a sensitive manner that doesn't impede water quality, then that's a different thing. So I don't know what design it takes, or even if it's part of the current project. The way the code works is once they've delineated the wetlands and the resources on the site and established the required vegetative buffer around them, then they do a mathematical calculation of the impact of any new structures within that buffer and are required to offset that with mitigation of native plantings. And that's a pretty detailed analysis that David Evans and Associates reviews, and then the mitigation plan as well. So they try to seek to minimize the amount of new impervious surface within the buffer, because that has ramifications for a lot of things. So in the narrative, I didn't mention this, sorry, includes restoration and habitat enhancement of the existing ELC ponds, with modifications to the building, trail improvements, and interpretive features. But the primary objective is to redevelop and enhance the ponds as part of the stormwater management. They've become overrun with invasive species, plants, and they don't function effectively anymore. There is, I believe, a component is significant grading in order to build banks or berms within those ponds to maximize and orient the berms so that the plantings would be shading the water in a better way.
And does anything in there talk about tree removal?
There will be a section in there that deals with tree removal. That's a necessary.
Because one of the things I would like us to take a look at is, you know, the area covered there is rather substantial, and to actually, any trees that they bring down, that they use essentially the woody material of the tree, it's the trunk and so forth, as habitat enhancement for animals living under those kinds of things. They know they've got western the red-legged frogs there, and also the northwest salamander there, and salamanders in particular need a land habitat as well as a water habitat, and so I think it'd be really good for them to come in and make a presentation to us.
Okay. I will approach them and ask them to come back and tell us what has changed, if anything, and what's being proposed now that they've actually submitted. Okay.
Is the public comment period set yet?
No.
Okay.
It won't be set until we deemed it complete.
Okay. All right.
And then we do the 300-foot notice. Because the college is located on a very large tax lot, 300-foot notice area potentially pulls in quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But we would also do the notice to all the committees affected, the Citizen Involvement Committee, as well as the Neighborhood Association. Caulfield is the neighborhood association that the college is in. But we always send the land use notices to all the chairs of all the neighborhood associations and the land use chairs if they have one. So
They've done a lot of reiterations of this. The first time
Yeah.
it came, it was a highly engineered thing, extremely highly engineered. Then they were coming back and less of a highly engineered using some of the current features, but the group, I don't know if they kept the same consulting group or not, but they weren't given any priority to maintaining permanent water features there, just as a stormwater facility. That's changed a great deal over the period of time, and I think the college has been really receptive to public input on this project.
yeah, and I think part of that is, part of that may be related to the fact that they got Metro funding to do the project, and a necessary component of any Metro funding is public involvement and public engagement. So that's good. I'm sorry, I'm not really prepared to talk more about
that's fine.
the current project.
That's why I
Okay.
think we need to have make a presentation.
Okay.
What are they actually interviewing you and Jerry and Shaw about?
Well, Shaw is doing the interviewing.
What's the,
I'll know when I get there. They prepared just a sheet for me to bring in, but it's just where you put down your interests and so forth, and why you're interested in the site. So,
what's it going to be used for, though? What's the,
I do not know.
You might want to ask.
I will. When I go into the interview, I will ask.
but Shaw's going to interview you and Jerry to what?
I think Jerry's probably doing interview. They're interviewing about 50 people they've selected to be interviewed. I'm just one of the 50.
To do,
Yeah.
okay, to
Get our input.
your input, okay.
These are people that.
Now they've got a plan they've submitted already.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, the
Yeah.
input on the plan or what?
Right, I'll have to find out because but this has happened before the city rules on completeness. So,
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I'm happy to take comments, and I don't expect that your comments that you would make, you're going to be struck from the record because they weren't made at the appropriate time. You're more than happy.
will this go to the planning commission, or is it strictly an in-house review?
It's strictly a type 2.
Okay, but we will still have a period of time where we can respond to the city.
Right. Yeah, that's why I was mentioning the 3 potential options that we have to form a group consensus on.
Yeah, I just, in a sense, independent of your ruling on the completeness of the document, I think for us to get a good feeling of what's going on ahead of time so that we can make comments to them
Sure.
and they can deal with them
Mhm.
before they actually have a full-fledged review of what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what's happened in that situation before, we'll carry forward the comments into the comment period and say, this is what was discussed, these were the recommendations. But I will ask, is that John Van Stavern to come back, or maybe it's Bob Cochran, or both of them, to talk about this? Yeah. And, Jerry Waters is the architect on the building and the structures, with Joost Grube Hall Architecture is the name of his company. There's also a separate firm that is working with the college on the master plan, which has not yet been submitted. And, they're more programmatic, educational, design, interior function of the college buildings and how they operate. And that's a whole separate thing that's driving their master plan.
One of the
Yeah.
concerns that's been expressed, Sean Spady's been specifically vocal on it, is that stormwater, this is part of the stormwater management system, but, when they have major rainfall events there on the campus, we want to see this thing overflowed and to actually deal with some of those stormwater issues on the opposite side of the Douglas Loop there from the facility.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be nice if the master plan and this were going more in tandem, but of course, they've got money and a timeline on this piece.
Right.
And so, but when
Yeah.
the city starts looking at their additional infrastructure needs, they're going to be producing some more impervious areas there on the main campus, and for them to deal
Mhm.
with those issues there, so you don't necessarily overwhelm their facility there at the Environmental Learning Center.
Yeah, the timing is difficult in that regard because, if this is designed to take not just the water quality, but the quantity that's supposed to be anticipated in the master plan, then I've yet to look at that analysis, and it'll be up to the Public Works Department to make that determination, since they don't want to have to go back and change or retrofit what they've done if they find out that there's further impervious surface. But hopefully it'll be sized right. We'll have to make that analysis.
I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure what you said there.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Question, I think what you're getting at, and my question would be,
Yeah.
the work they're doing at the Environmental Learning Center, does any of that work reflect what they are going to be proposing to do up on the main campus in terms of the new building and so forth?
Mhm.
In
That
terms
I
of
don't
water
know.
quality? Because those should be separate items, issues.
Yeah, they may, to
And
the
the analysis
extent,
should reflect that also.
right. Anytime you have more than 5,000 square feet of new impervious surface in any project, it triggers compliance with the Stormwater and Grading Design Manual, which is new, and which promotes low-impact development approaches now. That's the new standard. So this type of facility is what the Public Works new standard requires for stormwater management. It's not putting in a pipe or putting in a tank, put it underground. That stuff is low on the priority list. This is the higher priority now. I don't know the technical answer to the question, though. I'd have to check with engineering, see what it does.
But the question is what, though?
Well, is this sized to handle the master plan, or will it have to be
That is the question.
revisited? Yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah.
Well, it could, I guess part of it could be revisited off this site before that water gets there.
yes.
Yeah.
I would hate to see them do all this work
Right.
and then
Right.
say, well, no, you got to do a whole bunch of work at the environmental learning site, whereas, they got
No,
fields and so
right.
forth that they could probably,
Do separate.
could flood during,
Yeah.
flood during heavy rain and so forth.
Yeah.
And And so I
Yeah,
think
I
it's a
see what you're
case
saying.
of, as they're going on with that master plan, be sure it's coordinated with what they previously did.
And maybe there probably are portions of the campus that actually go into a different basin.
Yeah.
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 Although they say their development is only on the Newell Creek Basin site.
Okay. All right. So great question. Yeah.
I asked that question once,
Mm-hmm.
whether any of that development was in the Caulfield drainage, which they also have. And they said, no, it's all on the Newell Creek side.
All right.
If they put parkings over there or something, maybe some of that would extend onto into the Caulfield
Yeah.
drainage.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to look at that in more detail. Yep.
Okay, we don't have old business, do we?
No old business.
Anything else that we need to cover here under this 5C?
Not at this time.
Okay. No old business. We go into communications. Before we start with our individual communications, we've had emails that have gone in from members of this committee, and I think maybe former members too, about us being left out of the process of the decision of that sugar maple there on 5th Street, I guess. And as I understood it, the owner himself was out of the country when that parts of that tree came out. Do you have any information you can share with
Yeah.
us?
I sure can. So, yeah, the owner was out of the country on several occasions, and staff was attempting to get the legal covenant recorded that protected the tree, and we weren't able to make the connection with the owner to get that done.
So it
Yeah.
actually hadn't formally been.
It hadn't had the final recorded
Oh,
legal
I see.
covenant on it at that time, and we were actually that week prior, the owner had brought the covenant in, signed it. However, there was a problem with the legal description. So it never got recorded, and in the meantime, we had the rainstorm and the wind, and the decision at that time, part of the tree fell into the public right-of-way on the weekend before December 5th. I think, Dee Dee, you know about some of this, but Public Works crews cut up what was in the right-of-way and put it in the yard, and then Public Works was in communication with the owner, who was concerned that the other side of the tree was going to fail and fall on his house, which he had spent many, many years restoring. And the people that were on site, Public Works crew, they weren't on site, but they said they looked like the trunk was rotted.
I saw it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was sad. I took a picture of it. I didn't go on the property because they had too many people already going on there.
Yeah,
They
you
could
see-
keep people off. And I said, I won't step on the property, but can I take a couple pictures? They said, yeah. Then I said, can I take the sign? Because someone's going to steal it. And so I went back 2 days later, and because they were still chopping down, so I have the sign in my yard. I'll bring it to Tom or whoever.
So I guess
We
Eventually get
asked
it,
for no further cutting be done until we had an arborist report, and I never got a response back.
So the owner took the action himself then to have the
Yeah.
tree removed.
Yeah.
Okay. And we didn't have legal authority because the appropriate covenant or whatever hadn't been.
We didn't have legal authority to stop it because the covenant wasn't recorded. Hypothetically, we could have, because the city commission had made the approval, and so the Natural Resources Committee, we had legal authority to probably stop work, but by that time, things were so far gone that there was more of a hazard issue involved. And, the city manager and the public works director made the decision to let things proceed.
was any
No.
consideration given to maybe notifying the Natural Resource Committee about this? I mean, it seems like,
Well, when did you all find out?
And it was down. It was all cut up.
Didn't you?
It was
I
like,
just drive by there because I work out
Yeah.
at the senior center almost every day, and that's one of my favorite trees,
I
and that's
know.
my baby.
Well,
That
it was a
little
tree.
And
We were all sad.
but
about
yeah,
it.
if you looked at it when it came around the corner, if you look at it as if it was a rotten tooth, if your tooth breaks below the gum line, tooth is gone. That tree broke down below the gum line.
Yeah.
It was right down into the. It
Well,
was sad, so sad. I sat there and cried.
I don't doubt that there was an issue with it because I
Yeah.
did see the rot also.
Mhm.
I don't know if any part of it could have been saved, but I guess it's a communication thing.
There's no way.
You know, why, there should have been more communication, it seems to me.
Just so that a snow heritage tree was going down, if nothing else.
The what? I'm sorry.
Just to let us know that one of our heritage
Yeah,
trees was going
yeah.
down, if nothing else.
Other questions is talking about that. Every time we get an email, am I supposed to respond?
No, no.
Okay, good. I just not unless I have something to say. But
Try not to leave
So
it out.
what's the process within the city for a response, you know, communication? Because we continue to have the problem, you know.
Are you just talking about this tree, or are you talking about
Let's just-
things in general?
It's just things in general, you know.
Okay, I agree.
It's-
And-
Especially on
but
trees.
the tree is the most recent thing, you know. So,
Well, I think.
We don't have a public information officer. We try to respond as staff as much as we can,
yeah,
given our resources, given our limited staff.
yeah.
We are a city of 35,000. We have a planning staff of 4. 2 of them are going to go to work exclusively on the Willamette Falls Legacy Project, and we'll be down to 2 for the time being until we
Yeah.
get 2 more on board.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't overemphasize that.
Right.
But I hear you,
Yeah.
and with respect to these items, we will try to do a better job of notifying you guys. Sorry. Yeah. NRC and PrAC as well, particularly with when things happen in the park, like Waterboard Park,
Yeah.
private
didn't
owner
know
took it
about
upon
that.
himself to improve his view by removing trees in a public park.
Pratt
And-
didn't know about that either.
That was interesting.
That's
There's
good.
never been anything in the news or anything about it. It's kind of annoying.
Well, it's been hushed, and it's been hushed for a reason.
That's what
And
I
I'm telling you how many phone calls it takes to get to one answer,
Are we still
one
on,
item.
are we still on
19
old
phone
business?
calls,
or-
and
Well,
one
we're-
person
no,
ruining it.
I wanted to have that discussion before we went to communications.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're on old business, is that?
No, we passed
we
over.
don't.
Yeah, we're past
This
old
this is
business.
just
We
communication.
didn't, there wasn't anything on the item, but I regarded that as sort of old business that we
Okay.
hadn't talked about.
Well, I guess I did have some old business,
Okay?
and it could be communications too, I suppose, but it's really old business in terms of our second letter, you know?
Okay.
Whatever happened to the second letter?
I tried to find it,
You know.
I couldn't find
It
it.
would, didn't it?
No, the first letter did. But the second letter, our concerns, remember, our
Sorry.
concerns.
I totally, yeah, I intend to send it.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Notice that in the plan, when I saw the new drawing of the meander, where Jerry had talked about it needed to have a meander,
Mm.
meander's in the plan. So they changed that pooling to a
Okay.
meandering. So it was like, hey,
Okay.
okay.
what?
Yeah.
Now, this is the second letter relating to the Clackamas Community College
Yeah.
Master Plan.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Well, it's related
the-
to the target, to the Environmental
Yes,
Learning
it is.
Center,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
we have concerns,
That's right.
you
yeah.
know, that.
We sent a letter of support that did not include our concerns because
Yeah.
it didn't
Right.
feel
Because
we
we
should
had
put that in a letter of
second
support.
letter, right.
And then there was a second letter that actually expressed our concerns
Right,
to go to the
right,
college.
Right. I think I did send that. I sent it, I emailed it to
did.
Bob Cochran. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Emailed
Okay.
what, though?
The second letter.
We haven't seen the second letter.
You sent it
Yeah,
to me.
we did.
Right, but I didn't ever see the final copy of it.
You didn't?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, why don't you?
who has
I
the
mean-
final copy? It's not me. I mean, if I get a final copy, I'll send it to him. I sent whatever I was sent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I sent to everybody a
Okay.
letter for the second or third time, and so, well, I'm not sure.
Please contact me ahead of the meetings so I can, do this stuff.
No, I guess that's why I
There's a
sent the letter.
lot of going on. You know, I mean, this,
Yeah. Well, I guess send us what you sent him.
I will.
That's what,
Yeah.
I think that'll constitute the communication.
Okay.
Well, I'll start. The Greater Oregon City Watershed Council, I think I mentioned to you that we were involved on, we had funding from the Nature Conservancy. That's actually PGE sends money to the Nature Conservancy, and some of that money came to Greater Oregon City Watershed Council to assist the city in a wetlands delineation of Scattering Creek, which is a creek that comes out of the cemetery. And the although I don't think I've seen it, the wetland designation the wetland delineation has been completed, and so the money is being released to pay for that wetland delineation, and there will be then plans developed to actually implement a plan there at Scattering Creek, which my understanding from earlier conversations with Public Works is basically an underground stormwater system that used to be a stream, an open water creek, but that actually drains about 60 acres of Oregon City. And the area down below is heavily incised because of the heavy runoffs that we get. And the intention of this facility is to slow those runoffs down and perhaps have a better method of diverting heavier runoff down to the stream corridor itself without Mill Creek itself without the incision, whatever it is. But so that's something that the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council had pursued and has been completed.
Entrenched.
Entrenched, not incised. The banks are incised.
Okay.
Anyway, so I guess Ginger, we can.
Yeah. I was late tonight. We have one of our parents at our school has a tumor, and she had to raise $40,000 in the next couple days. So I was helping make sure that the school was ready for the fundraiser that we had tonight. So I apologize for being late, but it was necessary.
Sure.
I guess I'm also on the Greater Oregon City Watershed Committee, and we're pursuing projects on Abernethy Creek. We're trying to identify potential restoration projects, enhancement projects, or whatever. And so if you know of anybody interested that might be willing to invest some time, let us know, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you approached Gail Shalom with the county?
No.
Okay. She may be a good contact since not clean.
Could you email us
Yeah.
her contact?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the county has property that backs up to Abernethy Creek, and I know the shade study identified a need for some of those areas to be shaded better.
Mm-hmm.
And in the area where the Solve project went on farther up from there, I don't know if they've revisited it since they did it 4 years ago when they graded the banks back and replanted it.
Which one was that? Where?
Yeah, we were in-
Anchor Way.
Anchor Way.
Oh,
We were
yeah.
specifically involved with it, although a couple of us went out there when they were doing some work. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's that big metal industrial shop right at the corner of Redland Road
Yes.
Yeah.
where Abernathy backs up to that as well. And they've got some invasives and some bank incision issues as well there. And part of the Solve project went onto that property, I think, but
Okay.
I don't know what's been done since then. But yeah, okay.
Okay.
And the county shops back up to Abernathy
Yeah.
Creek too. But
I think it's fair to say that the Department of Fish and Wildlife are visiting with them. The Greater Oregon City Watershed
Okay.
Council visiting with them
good.
seems to be taking a keener interest in Abernathy Creek. and it's actually pulling together some other professionals to talk
Right.
about potential dealing with some of the perhaps constraints, particularly potential passage constraints that exist there.
Well, if that's something that, we want to collaborate on as a restoration grant project potentially as well.
A
that'd
lot
be
of the areas are outside of the city. But
yeah,
one of the possible constraints there might be that
that's true.
culvert that goes under the 99E.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Huge culvert.
Yeah. Oh,
What was it, 21 feet in diameter?
Yeah, we found out the outside diameter is 22 feet, so it's probably 21 inside, 21. But it's 655 feet long.
What do you do
Wow.
with
It
something like
bends.
that?
It bends, and so it's dark,
Yeah.
very dark.
I mean, what
Yeah.
that's a tough.
There's ways to deal with that, the flow and so forth, but
Mhm.
it's not easy. It depends upon the watershed and the materials, the sediment, what it's made up of, and so forth. But yeah, you can slow it down in
Oh, they got baffles in there.
baffles.
Yeah, there are baffles in it.
I think they have 5 baffles. It's unclear on the engineering drawings are from 1970, so it's been in there 45 years, I guess. But
5 doesn't sound like much for 655 feet.
no, it's about one every. Let's see, the first one I think was 75 feet, and then it looked like it was every 143 feet or something. I couldn't tell for sure based on the drawing,
That's
but.
not.
I will tell you that I've seen that creek flowing. Well, of course, I'm not talking about our floods, but I've seen that creek flowing to the Willamette where I think there's only about 4 or 5 feet clearance from the top.
Wow.
That is a very that can be a very flashy creek.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah, and it's flooded at Redland on numerous occasions. I mean, on the Redland Road.
I think we're also pursuing putting out some temperature monitoring devices, temperature loggers on Abernethy Creek, maybe 10 or 12 of them. Maybe, if
Yeah.
we can get the proper folks involved.
Is the John Runyon's assessment work from back? That's
He is actually he's one of the people that's going to be working with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife.
okay. Good. Yeah, because I got a copy of his the assessment.
Watershed assessment.
What's the name of the professional there at the
Dave Stewart? at
Dave
OSW?
Stewart?
Yeah.
He's pulling John Runyon and also Brian, our Newell Creek guy from Metro, Brian
Brian
Vaughn.
Vaughn.
yeah,
Brian
yeah,
Vaughn
yeah.
together. They're getting the 3 of them together to
Oh.
talk about
Okay.
the
Good.
watershed.
All right. Well, whatever I can do to help. What else?
Yes. You can contribute whatever you want that's related to what we do.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to soak it in and get a kind of feel for what all you guys are gone through and talked about, and nothing off the top of my head.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, I
Bill,
got
I mean? Sorry.
What'd you call me?
I called you Tom, Bill.
That's a new one. Did get some feedback from John Lewis that they looked at the Cooperative Weed Management Association and felt like it was a good idea, and they were gonna sign up and sign in on it. So
Good. Good.
I think that's a worthwhile effort, and it doesn't cost them anything but 2 or 3 days of staff time a year, and the communication and the interagency interaction and chance to piggyback projects on top of each other and that sort of thing is well worth the time spent. That I have nothing going on. Always interested in the Falls project. I guess I'd ask why two planners have to work on the Willamette Falls Legacy project.
Is that
Have you
important?
seen it? It's
I've been to
huge.
every meeting they've had.
That's a friends group, yeah.
Trying to get, it's actually 1.5 realistically. Kelly's helping with, the day-to-day coordination and tour setup and that sort of thing. And Christina is trying hard to keep everything on track with Metro to get to this, what the heck, the DOS, she gets so many acronyms I can't keep track of them. But getting the agreement in place for all the partners to just get the Riverwalk built and get it out to bid. Getting the bid documents all set once the architect comes up with the plan. So they're trying. There's a lot of
The plan is far from
it's being
developed. I mean, there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of meetings and stuff. I just was surprised that there was that much demand for staff time.
Yeah. Apparently there is. So, but we are.
Yep, you have 4 agencies and the developer.
Yep. And you got to keep all of them happy and on board and on track. So.
Well, I'm glad to see there's something going on down there because I've been concerned with the recent economic news, the downturn in oil prices and so forth. I just wonder how much staying power the developer, the current owner, has these days. And how's this Tumwater thing going in Washington? Is there still appear to be a demand?
I can't answer that.
I didn't really think you could.
It all sounds positive from Christina's end.
Sure.
Yeah. And we're looking for planners to backfill their positions for the next 2 years, so that we don't lose any expertise in historical review and day-to-day planning activities. I think we were interviewing 9 candidates, and we're going to try to winnow it down to 3 candidates for 2 positions. Got some good potentials. Yeah. What else is going on? Providence Willamette Falls Hospital.
Let me go to her first.
Oh, sorry, Dee Dee. Go ahead.
I know you're a newbie too.
Well,
But
I just had a couple questions. I grabbed out a couple things out of our newspaper, and I was trying to watch some of the old meetings of the NRC. And you guys brought up a real concern about Resolution 1529 that the city commissioners proposed. It directly affects our water board park, changes its boundaries. Is that what this resolution did? And then you guys made a comment that this could really affect our other parks if we don't have the verbiage correct. They could kind of redesignate some of our, and I'm going to get all the names wrong, multi-use. Some of them are designated as multi-use, and some are parks, and some are not clearly defined, and it could go to the whim without a vote, apparently, to change some of our park lands, and with development coming, they could be looked at. And other than park use.
The charter park issue.
I think the confusion stems at this park specifically in terms of multi-maps that indicate what its boundaries were.
Right.
That isn't true of our other parks.
Okay.
And in fact, we tried at one point to take. We have some small pocket parks and tried to take that to a vote of people because there was a maintenance issues and so forth to have them taken off the parks list, and it was a resounding no. We have to take it to the vote of the people. I think the issue on that particular park is all kinds of conflicting maps.
Yeah, and I tried to look at some of those old maps, and I was going, oh, I
Yeah.
don't really know what I'm looking
That-
at. And
that-
kind of felt,
I'd be surprised if that was true of any of our other parks.
okay, well, that was a concern, and I know
Yeah.
it was a concern within the NRC, and I thought,
Yeah.
I was going to kind of. And then I saw that the Red Soils project had, where the school had removed some trees, and then there were some also other trees that were removed there.
In the paper, yeah.
17 pine trees lining the east side of Beaver Creek Road near the intersection of Warner Mill, and I should have driven it today to go take a look. I'm surprised I didn't see it. But with this, when I saw the Oregon City schools illegally cut some trees, I went, oh, this is the perfect time for us to jump in and talk to them about heritage trees, because now they kind of little egg on their face and kind of nice to make that into a nice egg whitewash. So that was just, I didn't kind of like, how do we find out about trees that are removed? Is there any way prior to when I made mention at the gym about the trees that were massacred, assaulted in Waterboard Park, well, the guys from the Park and Recs hadn't even heard about it. When something like that happens, how do they notify everyone saying, hey, we need to have an uproar about this? I'm tempted to, I've made a lot of stink through all the areas, gently and nicely and politely, taking names as I went, but I haven't stressed it in the public more, which I kind of like to do because I read our bylaws, and if I want to stay active as a group, and if our group takes action or wants to do anything, I wouldn't be able to work with our group on that. Do we have any repercussion? Do we as a group want to say, shame on you, person who cut down those trees? We want to put your name in the criminal book at the 7-Eleven. Or, do we write letters to the district attorney's office saying, we want to know, is it NRC people, what happened with our trees?
Any actions of that nature that we want to do through the city itself. Because we are an advisory group to the
Right.
city.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But that doesn't mean that we could not.
As an individual citizen, you can do that.
Okay, but I mean, as being on the group, I can now write my little letters to the district attorney's office saying,
But you can't talk
But
about.
don't.
I won't, yeah, well, I just want to make that.
Oh, no, there's nothing preventing you to act like you always have.
Okay, well,
Right.
it said if you want to work on an issue then don't jump into it as a citizen if you want to work collectively
Right.
as a group. And so
Yeah.
I just wanted
No,
to
no, you as an individual.
mention
you
that.
can still do it.
Yes.
What's the district attorney got to do with anything? I'm confused. I
Our
guess.
district attorney office is now reviewing the case for its second time of the trees that were vandalized.
Well, it was a
The County
trespass
Government
issue.
issue would-
And
Oh,
so the Parks
trespass.
Department took it very seriously.
Oh, I see, okay.
And it had to do with, all sorts of liability potential and
Yeah.
various things that
They
I
have
was
the
not
wrong
privy
group.
to,
Park and Recs
but,
didn't know that.
I
I just get the roots
we
mixed up.
don't issue permits to private citizens to remove trees in
In
city
your
parks.
parks.
And somebody actually came up with, I can't get into it because it's a very big
Right,
legal issue,
right.
but
But it's an
yeah,
ongoing
we did not
legal issue.
approve that.
Okay,
And it happened, and then they prosecuted, and
Yeah.
they're still prosecuting.
okay.
And just even get a name out of them was,
Did you get a name of who cut the trees?
well, I got
Well, I know-
thrown two names at me because I told him, I said, if this was my son who got a drunk driving ticket, I could find out. I said, but if this is someone who slaughtered my trees, I want a name. And so finally someone came on who didn't give me their name and threw two names at me. And
Okay.
and an incident report, and I just
I'm
had
sure.
to
I'm
correct
sure. I'm sure
myself.
that's being looked into by the city.
Yes, so the Parks Department is well aware of who this individual is, and they're going after them.
And I hopefully severely, but I mean, it's just,
Dee, do you live in the McLaughlin Historic District?
no, I don't. I live in the, I want to say Elyville district, but no, Berkeley Hills.
Because one of the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association people was deeply involved in the park thing. So.
Let's hope so. That was one of the biggest criminal assaults I've seen in a city, knowingly done.
Well, with that beat,
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. just a lot of land use stuff going on right now with at the planning commission level. I don't want to bore you to death with it. So, unless you have specific questions.
Okay, very good. Meetings, unless there's,
Do we have any homework for next time?
Good question.
well,
We will be coming back with the, hopefully a presentation on the ELC.
and we'll also be looking at the revised work plan.
Often, when we have new membership, we like to do sort of a briefing on. I think the city recorder's office actually wants to do this, not me, but the city recorder's office can come in and give a presentation on general protocol and for a public body.
And what
They
can-
sent us
yeah,
a packet.
And they send.
You got a packet in the mail, didn't you?
I don't know.
Okay, if you didn't,
I
then
think
we'll
you
get
will.
that.
Yeah, okay, that'd be good.
All right, and maybe you can follow up on the use of all this technology.
Good.
In the meantime, if you have ideas for agenda items, send them through Doug, and Doug can send them to me, and we'll get it
Right.
sorted out.
Yeah. Copy everybody. Send it to me, but copy everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like if you mention an article, please include a link if you have it.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
And if there's stuff like the communication issue on the Tom tree, we will try to do better on that.
Before he starts planting, we might see if we can do something
Mm-hmm.
wonderful, because it's, a judge house that was originally planted by a judge. Now you have a new judge that owns it, who's going to plant the next tree. He's pretty, you wouldn't mind doing something a little bandwaggy, because he likes to be
That's a
out in
good
front of
idea.
that. So you could really,
Here comes
You know.
the judge.
Would be good.
there you go, the judge. And you could really do some really fun stuff,
Well, that's a flash in the past.
And also,
Yep.
when those people are prosecuted, we need to salute the person who gets a $250 check for reporting the vandalisms that
Jesse
recruited
Buss.
that resulted in a prosecution. We need to have somebody get that $250 check, and just like a
With that,
sweepstake winner.
we'll adjourn the meeting.
Okay, thank you, guys.
You gotta do the gavel thing.
Oh, yes.